I am making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, Laws of the State of New Jersey. The Borough Clerk has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the governing body of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2022. The Borough Clerk has posted a true copy of this schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall, and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source, the Star Ledger and the Home News Tribune, and is maintaining a copy of the schedule in her office during the year 2022. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regard to this meeting. Please stand for the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Cesari?
Here.
Councilman David is excused. Councilman Finstrella?
Here.
Councilman Hens?
Here.
Councilman Puglisi?
Here.
And Councilman Zimmerman.
Here.
Minutes were received from Norway Valley Sewerage Authority for April, and a block party request for 500 Passaic Avenue was received.
In favor of the block party? Anyone opposed? So we grant the block party? They do have it every
They
year.
have it every year.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Is there a motion to accept communications and reports?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, as you know, we raised the pride flag this evening. I would like to read the proclamation. As we celebrate and declare June as Pride Month in Kenilworth, we are reminded of what makes Kenilworth great, our remarkable capacity to live together and advance together across every conceivable difference. This June, we stand with the LGBTQ community as they declare their pride in who they are and who they love. The story of America's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, pansexual, asexual, gender fluid, non-binary, cisgender, and heterosexual community is the story of our fathers and sons, our mothers and daughters, and our friends and neighbors, who continue the task of making our country a more perfect union. It is a story about the struggle to realize the great American promise that all people can live with dignity and fairness under the law. Each June, we commemorate the courageous individuals who have fought to achieve this promise for the LGBTQ Americans, and we rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of equal rights for all, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Every generation has brought us closer to fulfilling its promise of equality. While progress has taken time, our achievements in advancing the rights of the LGBTQ Americans remind us that history is on our side, and that the American people will never stop striving toward liberty and justice for all. Now therefore, I, Linda Karlovich, Mayor of the Borough of Kenilworth, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as Pride Month in the Borough of Kenilworth, and call upon the people of Kenilworth to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists, and to celebrate the great diversity of the American people. In testimony whereof, I hereunto sign my name officially and cause the seal of the Borough of Kenilworth to be fixed this first day of June 2022. Thank you. I'd like to move on to the finance report. Councilman Puglisi.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Department of Public Works, Councilman David's excused. Department of Public Safety, Councilman Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have from Chief Seuss for the month of May 2022, the Kenilworth Police Department answered 1,103 calls for service and 172 911 calls. There were a total of 90 hours of overtime for the month of May, and the overtime was primarily scheduled for patrol and dispatchers and the street fair. And there was also USERT and SWAT call-outs for our officers. And there was 174 hours of training and 151 traffic summonses issued, along with 5 total sick days and 16 and a half hours of sick time. Since Attorney General Platkin has loosened restrictions on motor vehicle pursuits, motor vehicle thefts and car burglaries have dropped substantially. Kenilworth Police Department had no reported car thefts for the month of May. However, Kenilworth still experienced approximately a half dozen car burglaries in May. So I'm reminding residents to make sure that they still lock their cars in their driveways in front of their houses. And these car burglaries occurred mostly in the North Michigan Avenue and Monroe Avenue areas, along with a theft of a catalytic converter from a work vehicle on Springfield Road. I do believe Cranford Police Department made an arrest with that, right, with the catalytic converter thieves?
They did, but we just got hit with 2 more last night, so it's
So it's still going
a
on.
couple of different rings doing it.
Okay. After the tragic shooting in Uvalde, Texas, on May 24th, Chief Seuss had extensive discussions with Superintendent Kyle Arlington from our schools, and they decided to have extra police presence at all local schools from Wednesday through Friday of last week, both during the morning drop-offs and afternoon pickups and dismissal. The Kenilworth Police Department also had extra special law enforcement officer 3s in all schools and conducted extra walkthroughs at the schools throughout the course of the day, following what happened in Uvalde, Texas. The officers and detectives attempted to be a calming and reassuring presence for the kids and parents alike, and the Kenilworth Police Department received tremendous feedback, positive feedback from the kids, parents, teachers, and administrators, during which was a very difficult time for all involved. I also got a report from the Kenilworth PBA from departing President Gavrick, who's now a sergeant, who advised me that on June 6th, the PBA golf outing is being held at the Brook Lake Country Club, same place they had it last year, which is completely booked. And Sean Gavrick is still the chairman of the golf outing. Also on June 10th, the Kenilworth PBA will be participating in the New Jersey Special Olympics torch run, which donations will benefit the New Jersey Special Olympics. Kenilworth police officers will start the run when Roselle Park hands off the torch at Fay Toot and Colfax Avenue, and then run a route up South Michigan Avenue towards the boulevard, then make a left onto the boulevard heading west, and then a left turn onto South 21st Street in Kenilworth onto Orange Avenue, where they will meet up with the Cranford Police Department and hand off the torch somewhere in the area of the Canoe Club in Cranford. The total route distance is approximately 2 miles, and the torch run is scheduled at approximately 10:30 a.m. until 11 a.m. for that 2-mile run, depending on if it kicks off at the right time. So if anybody wants to go out and see it, this is our first torch run, right, Chief?
It's fun. We haven't done it in the past.
So this is something that they're doing, so any donations are being requested too, and they can be made to the Special Olympics torch run by a check made out to Kenilworth PBA Local 135, or by using Venmo, the @ Kenilworth-PBA. And any donors that donate to the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics will get an autism patch that was created by the Kenilworth Police Department as a thank you donation. And Officer Brett Byron is the chairwoman for the torch run. And last but not least, on June 11th is the Kenilworth PBA's annual fishing derby being held at Blackbrook. And anyone can sign up online for their kids using the Kenilworth PBA Facebook page or in person on the day of the event. Officer Ray Fushino is the chairman of this event, and registration begins sharply at 7:30 a.m. and the fishing derby will start at 8 a.m. sharp and concludes at 10 a.m. The Kenilworth Fishing Derby is open to all Kenilworth children ages 3 to 12 years old. Free breakfast and a t-shirt will be provided to all registered participants by the PBA, and prizes will be awarded to the biggest fish caught in each designated age group. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I would like to just add that I was at the school the morning after the tragedy in Texas, and the police presence was really strong, and it was very comforting to see that. Good job. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, planning and zoning, Councilman Fenestrella.
I really don't have much, thank you, Mayor, except for the next meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, June 9th, 6:30, work session, 7 o'clock meeting. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Recreation and Fire, Councilman Pence.
Thank you, Mayor. Recreation report, there is summer parks program signups have concluded. The counselors are going to be voted on for next meeting. Softball has concluded. As far as the fire report, on May 26th, myself, Councilwoman Cesari, Councilman Finestrella and Zimmerman, and myself attended their memorial service at the fire department, which is very, very nice.
Nice.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next for council consideration is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Parisi, seconded by Councilman Finestrella.
Resolutions 156 to 162 are listed on the consent agenda and will be enacted by one motion. All items will be recorded individually in the minute and full in the minutes. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
And Councilman David is excused. We have three ordinances this evening. Ordinance 2022-07, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 2021-18, and approving the application and authorizing a financial agreement for a long-term tax exemption by and between the Borough of Kenilworth and Kenilworth Redevelopers Urban Renewals LLC.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to rescind ordinance 2021-18 and approve the application and authorization of a financial agreement for a long-term tax exemption by and between the Borough and Kenilworth Redevelopers Urban Renewal LLC. Is there a motion to open the floor for public discussion on this ordinance 2022-07 only?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Finestrella and Zimmerman. Does anyone have anything to say on this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please step forward and state your name and address. Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public discussion on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-07 for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion passes.
Council-
Sorry.
Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David is excused. Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman.
Yes.
Be it hereby resolved that ordinance 2022-07, entitled an ordinance rescinding ordinance 2021-18 and approving the application and authorization of a final agreement for a long-term tax exemption by and between the Borough of Kenilworth and Kenilworth Redevelopers Urban Renewal LLC, heretofore introduced and does now pass on second reading, and as soon thereafter as the matter at a regular meeting of the Borough Council on June 1st, 2022. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its final adoption and passage on the first reading, and the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David is excused. Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman.
Yes.
The second ordinance up for adoption is ordinance 2022-08, an ordinance amending Article 5, paid and unpaid time off policies, Section 37-38, vacation leave of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth, County of Union, State of New Jersey.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to amend Article 5, paid and unpaid time off policies and vacation leave of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth. Is there a motion to open the floor for public discussion on ordinance 2022-08 only?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so anyone have anything to say on this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please step forward and state your name and address. Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public discussion on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-08 for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Be it hereby resolved that
Oh, we got
ordinance...
the roll call.
Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman.
Yes.
Be it hereby resolved that ordinance 2022-08, an ordinance amending Article 5, paid and unpaid time off policies, Section 37-38, vacation leave of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth, County of Union, State of New Jersey, heretofore introduced, is now passed on second reading, and the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage.
Kat,
Yeah.
you could stop after you said has been adopted, passed on second reading,
Okay.
okay? And the vote that we just had was for the adoption, wasn't for a resolution, correct?
No,
That was the
it's-
adoption of the
first
ordinance.
Yeah, it was for the adoption of the ordinance, correct?
Yes.
So then that's.
We don't need a resolution, we don't need resolutions?
No, we don't need resolutions, and we just have to do the adoption, so.
That's good.
And you had indicated, with respect to the first ordinance, you read the same thing. You had indicated initially that it was adopted on second reading. So the language that you had read thereafter was language that was contained in the notice provision that we actually published after the first read. It was superfluous. And it's okay. It doesn't invalidate what we did, but for clarity's sake, I'm just explaining it to the record and stopping it here for this ordinance.
But we don't need resolutions after the ordinance? Just the
No,
ord-
no,
just the
yeah, it's just the ordinance, yeah. And I understand that's how we did it, and I meant to have this conversation with you previously. And since we're discussing procedure, if I can make a suggestion to the governing body and the mayor about the adoption process, it streamlines it and it makes it a little bit more quick. After the public is done speaking or not speaking, there could be a motion to close the public session and to adopt the ordinance in one motion.
Okay.
Okay, instead of having two roll calls, you could do it all in one. The
Okay.
motion would read,
I'll do that on the next ordinance.
correct, does anyone move to close the public session and adopt ordinance?
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Okay. So the third ordinance, ordinance 2022-09, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 120 Land Use, Part 3 zoning of the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to amend the zoning code required regarding permitted uses. Is there a motion to open the floor for public discussion on ordinance 2022-09 only?
Motion?
Second.
Does anyone have anything to say on ordinance 2022-09 only? Please come forward, state your name and address. Seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public discussion and to adopt ordinance 2022-09?
Motion?
Second.
Okay. May I do the roll call?
Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman.
Yes.
Before we go to the next phase, were we going to make a
I was gonna do that.
resolution?
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to do that next.
Okay,
So, but we're done with everything on the consent agenda, right?
right.
No.
So,
Except you can-
that our attorney's back, counselor's back. We had spoken about it previously, about a resolution to
Yes.
allow Ava's Kitchen and Bar at 1 North 21st Street for that event, that they want to have that whiskey tasting, that we give them their blessing, followed up with the chief of police and the fire department if need be, and the ABC, and the necessary
Insurance.
insurance to cover the borough.
Could I give the suggested language for the motion?
Absolutely.
We'll get it on the record, and then you could just say, yeah, that's my motion. Because the motion people would
No, I don't
think.
I'm kind of giving it ever like piecemeal here.
Correct. So the name of the applicant is,
Ava's Kitchen and Bar,
and their address is?
1 North 21st Street.
What number?
1,
Okay.
capital N, period, 21st Street.
Okay, and what municipal property is adjacent to it?
The
Parking lot.
borough parking lot is adjacent to it.
For Borough Hall?
No, for,
Municipal
The
park.
municipal parking
yeah, it's a
lot.
municipal parking lot located between North 21st and North 22nd Street.
Okay, so I would ask for a motion to adopt a resolution permitting the mayor I'm sorry, a motion to grant Eva's Kitchen and Bar the ability to utilize the Borough Municipal Parking Lot located between North 21st and North 22nd Avenue on, what date?
North 21st and 22nd Street. On, I don't know, June 14th? June 14th,
Between the hours of?
5:30 and 9:30 p.m.
Okay. To be utilized for their whiskey event, subject to and conditioned upon their execution of an agreement which the mayor is authorized to execute that will contain numerous conditions the borough attorney deems appropriate and necessary to protect the interests of the borough, including but not limited to language requiring compliance with ABC regulations, sufficient insurance requirements, naming the borough as an additional insured, an indemnification hold harmless agreement, and other conditions that the borough incorporates into the agreement following consultation with the chief of police and the chief of the fire department.
Correct. And should we have Tony involved in that too, since you were the one that was approached on it, Tony, and if there's any issues?
Yeah, but I'll give my input if you want.
Sure.
And the borough engineer too,
Yep.
please, just because he was the one that they reached out
Fair
to
enough.
originally, and he's involved with it, with the sketch and everything.
Okay. Okay, so that'll be the motion.
Yes.
So is there a movement?
I'll second. I'll make that motion, I guess.
I'll second.
Okay.
Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
And Councilman David is excused.
Okay, great. Okay, is there a motion to open the floor to the public?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Hello again.
Hello.
Couple of things I forgot. Tony Giordano Paserno, 241 Fitzhugh Avenue. Back in May, and I don't think I mentioned this, I wanted to thank, I wanted to get the rank correct, Lieutenant Bobby Cox and Officer Brett Byron for coming to, I don't know if everybody knows, Rich and I are involved with the We're Angels Play organization since 2006. Building playgrounds for children and some adults who have passed. And they're donated playgrounds. Anyway, our latest one was in Malvern, Pennsylvania for a little girl, Julia Bitto. And both of our officers showed up unannounced. I guess they got word because we have mutual friends through the PBA that work with us and the firefighters, and worked really hard at bringing the playground to fruition. We did it in 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, May 9th, 10th, and 11th. So I wanted to thank them publicly for coming on their own time, on their own dollar, and working alongside all the other volunteers. We really appreciate it, because everything that's done on every one of the playgrounds, that was number 58, is done through a volunteer force. And I was telling them that we have another one in August, it may be 11th or 12th, and it'll be in Seaside Park on the bay between N and Lafayette Street. So I will keep everybody posted.
That's in June?
August.
August, I'm sorry.
August 10 and 11. I just have to get final approval from their council on June 9th to make sure everything is good because it's on the water. We have to make sure we meet all the height requirements. And so I'll let everyone know because I know that they had offered to come down, maybe a few other police officers, firefighters, residents, whoever wants to get involved. It's a really great cause. So I wanted to thank them. And today I forgot to thank, I think it's Sheriff's Officer, Erin Pence, is that how you do it? It's a sheriff? Anyway, it's the first time I met her, and she was telling me all about how she got started as our dispatcher, and now she has a really great role with the Union County Sheriff's Department, creating a safe space environment for either victims of a crime or whatever, so that they know where to go, specifically within the LGBTQ community. So it was great to get to know her and meet her and know that there is that outlet. I'm sure, and I don't know if I'm correct, but even if officers have an issue, that they have an outlet and a safe place to go to. So it was great meeting her and hearing her speak and Mary speak today at the flag raising. So I forgot to say that before when I was up here, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. It was a great ceremony, so I want to thank them both for educating me as well as hopefully other people. And I know that you're planning some type of event here in June at some point, so maybe if you make sure either it's on the Kenilworth Council
Absolutely.
calendar, as well as your Facebook page.
Absolutely.
So that whoever would like to attend, because I know there's so much going on in a lot of other communities, and I'm glad, Kenilworth is, supporting all our
Absolutely.
residents. So, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say that the Safe Space program isn't rolled out. I'm working with Officer Pence, and we'd like Kenilworth to be the beginning. We'll roll it out here. She grew up here.
Right.
It makes perfect sense, and hopefully other communities will adopt the same procedure.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
It's so nice. It's such a
Yeah.
great idea.
Especially when you're in a traumatic situation, to know you have somewhere to go.
Right. Yep.
So, good job for her, but
Yes.
thank you for today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Seeing no one else, is there a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything else to be brought before the council?
So, just want to touch on what Mrs. Giordano Paserno said. I didn't find out about the flag raising until Councilman Puglisi called me last night on another matter, which we discussed in exec. He'll tell me, his feelings on that. I would hope that we can get an invitation so we know about these events.
Okay, it was July 1st, the last 2 years.
I wasn't on council last year. I retired 2 years ago. I had no knowledge of it.
Well, we did do it together the first year. We
did,
raised it.
absolutely. But I didn't know about it until about 8 o'clock last night.
Okay.
So
in
just
the
some kind of-
event,
some kind of heads up would be nice.
I'll send you an email.
It'd just be nice for everybody on council to get an email.
Of course.
Or something
I'll
like
send
that, so
everyone.
that we can all attend and not.
Well, everyone
not
did
have a
ultimately know
chance.
about it, though, tonight, so.
Ultimately.
Right,
But
they did.
it would have been nice to have some type of advance notice so I could have planned accordingly.
Well, you were there, so I guess it
I
worked
was
out for
there,
your
but
schedule.
it was barely.
Well,
So if I would have.
I'm glad you were barely able to get there.
Yeah, me too.
Great.
And I'd like also to say that I want to thank the veterans. Bobby Jeans did a fantastic job with the Veterans Memorial Ceremony this year. And to all the people that volunteered in town, like Joe said, that did the flag planting on the Saturday morning. It was rainy again, and it was very muddy, and a lot of people came out, both in town and out of town. Some county commissioners actually showed up also. And it was a great effort by everybody, and it was done very quickly because of the amount of support and turnout that everybody gave to such a worthwhile cause. And last but not least, I would like everyone to please keep all the parents, children that were from Uvalde, Texas, that unfortunately due to that act of violence there, in their thoughts and prayers. And hopefully they and we as a community and nation can pull through this. That's it.
Also, I just want to say that about the flag raising, there were several people on council that were part of the planning. And also, it was also advertised on social media and in Tap Into Kenilworth. There was an article about it, and I'm sorry you missed those.
Unfortunately, I'm not a big social media guy. I go on
Well,
it
Tap
occasionally.
Into, I figure you might follow. Okay, there's nothing else to be brought before the council. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.